Hi guys, welcome. Today I'm really excited because we are going to an estate sale. I have been watching this estate sale online for a few weeks because they kept adding pictures of what was going to be there. So I have quite a long list of things that I am specifically looking for. The lady who owned the house used to own an antique shop, so her home is filled with vintage and antiques. And I'm really hoping that there is still stuff left over when we get there because I won't be able to get there until early this afternoon because I am waiting for my husband to get home and then we're going to go together. So while I'm waiting for him, I'm going to make us some California rolls. We'll have a little bit of lunch and then we will head out. When I was a kid, my dad was in the Navy and we spent a few years in Japan. And I remember walking down the street where we lived to a little sushi shop. And it had the most beautiful sushi displays in these big glass cases. As a kid, I couldn't get past the raw fish and the fish eggs and the seaweed. I thought it was gross, so I never ate any myself. But when my husband and I were first married, we were living in Southern California, and we would frequent this little Japanese restaurant. And they would give you a few California rolls with your meal. I know it's not necessarily authentic sushi, but I loved them, though I still don't care for actual sushi. These days, my family doesn't eat out much because it's so expensive, so I started making my own California rolls, and it's very easy and fairly quick too if you want to make something in a hurry. The rice is flavored with a mixture of vinegar, sugar, and salt. And I just throw in some imitation crab meat into a food processor with some mayo so that I can chop up the crab and mix in the mayo at the same time. So you spread rice in a thin layer on one side of the seaweed and then flip it over and build the inside with your crab and avocado. California rolls normally have cucumber in them, but I do not care for cucumber, so I always leave that part out. I'm obviously not an expert, and I think my seafood to rice ratio is a little bit off, so they don't always turn out pretty, but they do always turn out yummy, which is the important part. They do actually taste just like the ones at that little restaurant we used to go to. After lunch, we headed straight to the estate sale. Some of the things I wanted were already gone, but there was still a ton of great stuff left. Most of the rooms were really crowded and it was hard to film around people, so I didn't get as much footage of the inside as I would have liked. It was a really big house and I wish I could have shown you a little bit more of the layout. It was really interesting. It was kind of like a maze and I did get lost a couple of times. The main level as you enter the house had a sunken living room and a little kitchenette. It just had a sink and a fridge and a little bit of counter space, so I think it was probably meant for serving drinks and snacks because that whole main level just seemed like it was made for entertaining. The second story was much bigger. It was built into the side of a hill, and that's where the rest of the house was. The most interesting thing was the master bedroom. So the master bedroom had a door into the master bathroom, but the master bathroom looked like a long hallway, and at the end of it was a sitting room, and there was no door between the bathroom and the sitting room. You just walked right into it, and then the sitting room opened up into a sunroom. There was also a whole other building outside that I didn't even realize was part of the property at first. The house had both an attached and a detached garage. So this other building was a detached garage with a big storage room on top, and that storage room was filled with all kinds of things. It was really just the coolest sale. There was so much to see there, and most of it was vintage or antique. It was really a lot of fun. So let's get into the haul. So it's a few days later, and today I'm going to show you what I actually ended up getting at the estate sale. The first thing I got was this salt box. I've been wanting one for a while. I've been using a little brown crock, which is really cute, but the mouth of it is pretty narrow, so it was hard for me to get to the salt when it got near the bottom. I was really wanting something with a larger mouth, so this is perfect. And it has the prettiest blue onion pattern. I wish I could find out more information about how old it is or when it was made, but there is no information on the bottom. There's no maker's mark or anything, so I have no idea. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find anything. So I'm gonna transfer all my salt into here, and this will be great for when I'm cooking. The next thing I got was this cast iron and copper ladle. I plan to have some pegs up in the kitchen at some point, and I will hang this there. For now, it is hanging in the dining room where I do have some pegs. I plan to use that to hold dried herbs and dried flowers. There's nothing up there right now, so this is hanging there instead. I love this detail where the cast iron connects to the copper. I think it's so cool. It's just the neatest little piece. This is the next thing. It's just a little garlic basket. It's also going to hang up on the pegs that I will put up in the kitchen. I have some garlic growing out in the garden right now, so this will be a great place to put it just for easy access when I'm cooking. I love the thought of keeping the garlic in a little basket like this because I think it just has such a beautiful texture to it. The next thing I got was this Laura Ingalls Wilder Pioneer Girl book. It's her annotated autobiography. So she actually wrote this book before she wrote the children's books that she's so famous for. And it is her life story. It's meant to be a little bit more true to life than the children's books. My husband actually bought me a copy of this in, I think 2014 is when this came out. He pre-ordered it for me and I loved it. It was kind of expensive. I think it was $30 or $40. So this one was $4 at the estate sale. So we picked up another copy so that my daughter could have one because she also loves Laura. I think the lady who had the house was also a Laura fan, because we picked up this set of her children's books in hardback. She had a bunch of Laura's later writings as well as other books that were written, I suppose biographies, written by other people about her. So this is the whole set minus one. It's missing The Long Winter. It was there in the picture, so I guess someone must have picked up that book by itself. This book is cool because it was purchased in De Smet. It has a little sticker in here. It also has little bookmarks with the daily tour schedules from De Smet. My family has actually been there a couple of times and we love it there. It's really cool. You can see her homestead and all of the places that she talked about in Little Town on the Prairie and These Happy Golden Years and The Long Winter. It's really cool. It sort of brings the story to life. When we were there a few years ago, we actually stayed a night or two at Banker Ruth's house. So he was in, I believe, The Long Winter. He purchased all of the wood at the lumberyard to keep his family warm when everyone else was freezing to death. But it was really cool to see his house and see the way that someone from her stories actually lived. So that's everything we got on the first day. I did actually end up going back on the last day because everything was 75% off. And there were several things that I did want to purchase on the first day, but they were a little bit too expensive. So we decided to come back on the last day to see if any of that was still there. And we did pick up a couple things. The first thing was this baking dish. It's so pretty. I did see it there the first day and it was $20, so I got it for $5. And it's a Villeroy and Boch, which I've never heard of before, but they seem to be kind of expensive when I looked them up. I just thought it was the most beautiful dish. I've actually had it on my countertop for a few days because I couldn't bear to just put it away in a cabinet. So it's been our fruit bowl for the last few days, just so that I could keep it somewhere where I could see it and admire it. So the next thing I got was this drying rack. I've actually been looking for one for a while. I looked on Amazon and they were a little bit pricey for just a cheap little rack. So I really loved this because not only is it vintage, but it's pretty big and it has a lot of bars where I can dry things. Up until now, I have been kind of making do with what I have. So when I need to air dry something, I would drape things over kitchen chairs or hang them from doorknobs. So I'm really excited to have a place where I can dry things inside or outside if it's a nice day. So the last few things that I got were for my daughter. So she loves horses and she loves reading. So we thought that these bookends would be perfect for her room. They're really heavy. They're some kind of stone. I'm not really sure what kind. They're sort of transparent. You can see light through them. I don't know. Is it stone? Is it some sort of man-made material? I don't really know. But they're really cool. They look great on her bookshelf. The last thing we got for her was these two little horses. They are sort of velvety and they have really soft manes, but she collects tiny little horses like these. These were, I think, $1 each. So that's everything I got from the estate sale, but I did want to show you guys some things that I got at an antique store. The first thing is this copper mixing bowl. It says it's made in France and it has a little brass hook here. I do plan to hang it up in the kitchen when I put up the pegs. But for now, it is hanging up in the dining room with the cast iron ladle and the garlic basket. It has a really lovely patina. There are a few little dents, but that doesn't really bother me. It's just a really cool piece. And last, I got a set of these ironstone dishes. I thought that the pattern was so pretty. I just love the florals. I did notice that not all of the pieces are the same exact shade. So they're both green, but like these little plates are kind of a dark green and this is a lighter shade of green, but I like both of them. It did come with a bunch of other pieces, so there are a few bowls and a creamer and some cups and saucers. And I just think that they are so beautiful. I love the color. I don't often find green ironstone. I see a lot of blue and white and red or brown, but I haven't seen a ton of green. So I just thought that these were really pretty. So that is all I got. Thank you so much for coming along with me, and I will see you next time.